Okay, so I was going to go back over another topic. And I started getting into the intro for it, but essentially, everyone knows Bitcoin and Bitcoin Core. They don't really get along. Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core. I got to be really careful about what I say here. But recently, there were some issues, and I was kind of curious what your guys' thoughts were on it. So somehow, the actual username Bitcoin on Twitter got how would I say it? Acquired, I think, acquired by someone who is a Bitcoin Cash supporter.
Oh.
Yeah. So
someone in air quotes.
Someone whose name is not Roger Ver.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if it's Roger or not, but it's somebody who's a Bitcoin Cash advocate. So they were going on social media and doing the typical, what they were posting was essentially propaganda. It wasn't unbiased commentary or anything like that. But essentially, a lot of the Bitcoin Core guys or users on Twitter decided they would just start reporting the Twitter account, the Bitcoin Twitter account.
Yeah.
And just because of the way that social media works, essentially that Bitcoin username, that handle, got suspended for a while. Mm-hmm. At least that's from what I could tell. And there's also something similar on YouTube. I think Roger Ver got one of his YouTube videos taken down because I would guess because people who are Bitcoin Core supporters decided to report the video for whatever reason. I'm sure their reasoning was like, oh, this is not true. This is just false information that's being spread. So I was kind of curious. I mean, on one hand, okay, there's freedom of speech. On the other hand, it's like, okay, you have social media platforms. They can kind of do what they want. They use their algorithms. Is this a little bit of a foul committed by some of the Bitcoin Core supporters or not?
I mean, I don't like the them trying to shut down the free speech of either community. And it's a little weird, because Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, I mean, they were a little bit opposing, they were outspoken, but I didn't see that much vitriol and that much trying to shut down the other side. I think Bitcoin is definitely, higher stakes because it's just a bigger market. And,
right.
And also just the community around Bitcoin is more, especially at the time. Like Ethereum, now the price is higher and the market's bigger and all the ICO stuff happened since then. But I think Ethereum was much more of a developer community early on, so I think you might not have had that. I think Bitcoin, you get a bunch of people who are emotionally attached to it, so I think that might be a big reason for it. I don't like it though. No.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris? Have you heard much about this story? It's a little bit more of a subtle kind of inside baseball, so to speak, story, but.
No, it's not something that I normally try to keep up on because of how nuanced and political
it
really is. And I feel like it's such a small faction of Bitcoin and crypto itself is such a small piece of the world right now.
Right.
And then this is such an even smaller piece that, yes, there's a lot of really important conversation, I think, around it because it's really trying to help shape and develop the future of the direction that we're going. But much in the way that sometimes our vote doesn't count even though we go vote, right? Is it really going to make a difference one way or the other if I pay attention to what's going on or not? Am I going to be able to influence how they think or change what they're... And maybe if I take more of a stance and an opinion, I could. But I got a lot of other things going on, and there's only so much you can spend time on during the day.
Right.
And to try to keep up on a squabble, that is probably not really... I mean, people love drama, don't get me wrong, and it's interesting and it's fun.
It is profitable if you can correctly predict the trend of who's winning and stuff, because you can buy or sell. It's a market-based thing.
Well, and if I was...
So,
if I was more involved on a daily, if I was a trader, I'd probably want to know every minute what these guys are thinking because it may totally screw with me. But if you're a hodler, then it's not going to matter 3 months from now, really, right? I mean, some of the stuff you want to pay attention to, like when SegWit was happening and activation of SegWit nodes and BIP 91, and when things are happening and we're talking about forks, if I'd have known, would I have bought more Bitcoin before because I would have got more BCH, right? Like, I mean, how do I know some of those opportune things to do if I'm not paying attention? So yes, it's good and bad in the fact that like I have one less thing to worry about and I don't get too sucked into the drama, but then sometimes you can miss out on things like getting a dividend, right? Like
Right.
by getting Bitcoin Cash or another fork or something because you were holding at the time. So I think it's a give and take that you should spend some time knowing what the people who are kind of leading the charge and that at the forefront are talking about and thinking about and working on. But I can't spend my time on a daily or even weekly basis kind of digging in. I should probably do it more often, but I don't. So that's where I probably am not contributing as much as to this conversation about it as other topics because I try not to dig in too deep, but I think you can understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a part of me that wonders, okay, these guys are still bickering over this, like, divorce is what I would call it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Bitcoin dominance continues, well, more or less is in the long term is continuing to decline. So there, you almost wonder if
We're up in the short term, though, definitely.
in the short term. Check back tomorrow and it might change, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But Bitcoin Cash is dipping, like generally just with exchange volume and use. So that's a trend that's going to probably stay.
Okay.